Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 249, The Decisive Battle in the Uninhibited Demon-Infested Shinjuku, Part 21, begins outside of Shinjuku. Instead, we're going back to the aftermath of Yuta ambushing Kenjaku in the Lake Gosho colony. We're at the last part of their fight we saw originally, with Kenjaku's severed head claiming his will shall be inherited. Yuta's silent for a second, just standing over the dead body of Sukuna Geto, trying to work out what that means. But then he calls for Rika. They've got bigger problems to deal with now. Because Kenjaku lost Geto's body, he's lost control of everything he did with cursed spirit manipulation. So every remaining spirit he had bound is immediately rampaging right here in the countryside. A bunch of high-grade curses have already appeared. A bird, toad, and lion emerging from Geto's shadow. These creatures are not a big worry to Yuta. He slashes right through the first spirit that tries to attack him like it's nothing. But there are a ton of them, and they aren't just going for him. A bunch have run out of the forest and have reached the road. The whole cloud of curses has reached the bridge over Lake Gosho in no time, and start to head across it looking for civilians. Since these curses are not culling game players, they can leave the colony. And there aren't any powerful sorcerers left outside to stop them. The last time this many curses went on the attack at once was the aftermath of the Shibuya incident, and that death toll went into the millions. Thankfully, Rika's fast enough to reach the bridge before the rest of the cursed spirits. She swoops down at the mob from above like she's some kind of giant twisted Batman. Even the curses, creatures composed of hatred and hunger, are visibly scared of this, and they should be. Rika's first attack is just grabbing one curse in her hand and squeezing it a bit. That's enough to reduce his head to a bloody mess. The curses don't stop coming, but Rika holds her ground, splashing a fountain of blood all over the road. But this whole fight was just a distraction. Kenjaku's not dead. He's lost Geto's body, but the brain can still control the head and is flying through the air with it, suspended on some kind of dark energy far above the battlefield. There's no sign of what it is. This looks like a cursed spirit, but Kenjaku lost control of them all, right? Regardless, now that he's out of easy stabbing range, he has an instruction for Kogane. This is when he adds the rule giving Megumi the power to activate the merger between humanity and Tengen. He really has been forced to pin his hopes on Sukuna. Yuta's caught up with the weird cursed tree thing, pulling Takaba's corpse with him. But it is too late. Kogane happily registers the new rule, just like all the ones before. Now that he's done with that, Kenjaku gloats at Yuta. He had this insurance ready all along. He's completed the ritual of succession with Sukuna in advance just to make sure this handing off of control thing would work. The only thing left to do is to transfer control of the culling game's heart to Sukuna, so he's ready for the ritual. To show off what that means, the black energy recedes, revealing a strange creature inside. There is a membrane around it, this thin transparent layer separating it from the world. It's warped, looking almost like a human fetus, but Yuta recognizes it. Shocked, it's Master Tengen, now reduced to this tiny creature. The item that will make everyone merge together. No legs, just a slim tail, and eyes which look like Sukuna's. Tengen should have been freed by Kenjaku losing Geto's body, but it's not that easy. The culling game is a more complex ritual. It's basically a second cage for the old sorcerer. Even without cursed spirit manipulation, the merger could still happen. Before Yuta can free the captured sorcerer, Tengen's rocketed into the sky, hatching from this bizarre egg. The black energy that surrounds him, the foundation of the culling game, is being transferred to Shinjuku. That was Kenjaku's last move. No more tower means nothing separating him from Yuta. Sending it was as good as accepting his death. Now with a sword in his head, the ancient sorcerer has a few last words for his killer. Kenjaku grins. This hasn't been too fun for him, but he's still happy about his comedy time with Takaba. It's a good way to end things. Now though, it's a different era. It's up to Yuta and his friends to decide what happens next. Kenjaku's content though. Yuta and his friends beating Sukuna? The new world with Tengen? However it plays out, it is sure going to be fun. Back in the fight with Sukuna, things have gotten vertical. Rika's on one side of Sukuna, hovering in the air. Yuta's opposite her, standing on a girder that runs over the building. Everyone's just staying still for now, waiting for one of the other fighters to move. Sukuna's the first to act, using reverse curse technique to heal his hands. It's taken the four-armed sorcerer a second to heal that last wound. Even after all the damage and exertion he took with Gojo, he's had such an easy time with the fight since then that he's managed to get that ability back, which means that his ability to use Malevolent Shrine is probably going to return pretty soon too. No one here has a way to fully suppress that. The best they can hope for is to limit it with Simple Domain. This fight is going to be significantly harder, and they've already lost Higuruma, the guy who had a chance at ending this with one hit. The fight's gone terribly for Jujutsu High's forces, and Yuta's convinced that it is because he didn't stay here. He starts second-guessing himself a bit. He could have stuck with this group. Would that have been enough to turn things around? Could Maki have handled the Kenjaku attack instead of him? Ultimately, he decides that no, Maki wouldn't have been up to that. She could have killed Kenjaku, sure, but with how many cursed spirits Kenjaku unleashed, it had to be Rika and him that handled that fight. Otherwise, the civilian casualties would have been really high. But now that her name's come up here, where is Maki during all this? Does she have another job like Yuta did? Is she helping Hikari or something? Or is she just waiting for her turn to join Yuji in fighting Sukuna? With Choso and Kusakabe left in the dust, this is kind of turned into Sukuna beats up the supporting cast one by one. Jujutsu High really needs to stick together better than this. The girder Yuta's standing on starts to crumble. It's not going to last much longer. It's time to attack. Rika flies forward, circling around Sukuna to block his line of sight. Yuta doesn't waste this chance, charging forwards with his sword. He's striking out of the shadows. Even with multiple eyes, Sukuna shouldn't be able to see this attack coming. But the King of Curses is way too fast. He ducks to one side and catches the blade in his hand. It doesn't even take him effort to break it. Yuta can tell that Sukuna's managed to come up with a chainsaw technique using a bunch of tiny regular slashes to grab the blade. But this fight is not ending with one failed stab. Rika's coming up behind Sukuna, who's still focused on Yuta and his sword. They can still pull a sneak attack here. Yuta lets his katana hilt go, leaving the remains of the blade in Sukuna's hands. That way, he can get some space from the coming impact. Sukuna wheels, feeling the spirit coming up behind him. He's almost too late. Rika's right there in front of him. Now, Sukuna's having to block both sides at once. He does a decent job of it, punching Rika's head back with one right hand, blocking her punch with his other, and keeping hold of Yuta's katana. But he's finally had too much to do. Yuta manages to land a punch right at his gut. Sukuna's second mouth grimaces, winded by taking a direct hit. Now Yuta has a second to grab his dropped sword before it hits the floor. He slashes at Sukuna, just a second too slow to catch him. But now Sukuna's kneeling, and Rika's grabbed an air conditioning unit, ready to smash it down on him. Sukuna is able to break the AC with Dismantle, but that gives Yuta the chance to land a kick on his back. Rika closes with a massive punch while Yuta slashes at Sukuna's side. They are in perfect sync. Each time one attacks, even if it fails, it gives the other an opening to exploit. This whole fight has been a display of how much good teamwork can do against a single, powerful opponent. But Yuta is not smiling. All that stuff about how he had to miss the earlier fight was just an excuse, and Sukuna's grinning at him. He can taste the guilt. Yuta wanted to kill Kenjaku personally. He insisted on that mission. He's suddenly convinced that everything that happened after he left is his fault. Sukuna's eyes sense something changing as Yuta readies his resolve for the next step, turning his ring. It's finally time for Yuta Okotsu's Domain Expansion. All-encompassing, unequivocal love. A realm of crosses and swords. It says so much about Yuta that his idea of true love looks like a graveyard. Either that, or he's a massive Unlimited Blade Works fan. Before any attack can hit, Sukuna activates Hollow Wicker Basket, the ancient version of Simple Domain. Yuta doesn't care. He grabs one of the katanas on the ground, glaring at Sukuna with fury as he takes his first swipe at the King of Curses. Sukuna blocks just like all those times before, but he can see something strange. The air next to him starting to crack. Yuta still has access to Thin Ice Breaker, the attack he copied from Takako Uro during the culling game. For once, he wasn't attacking Sukuna, but the air next to him. The strike explodes in the middle of Yuta's domain, the light blindingly bright. As it clears, Yuta's still standing there, the sword used to deliver that attack fading away. No big deal. He's got plenty more. The whole domain is full of them, and he's resolved. He'll do whatever it takes to kill Sukuna inside this domain. It's his way of making up for not being here and kind of causing this situation. In the distance, the smoke's clearing, and of course, Sukuna's still standing. That attack drew blood, but he's still got 3 eyes staring right at Yuta. He's grinning. This plan is still one he can understand. He knows Yuta's technique is copied thanks to Megami's memories. If the domain can deliver a copied attack, that is terrible news for Sukuna. Megami could have copied Angel's technique and used unequivocal love to hit him with Jacob's ladder. In Megami's body, that would basically be a one-hit kill. So long as that is even a possibility, while Yuta has the domain up, Sukuna needs to maintain Hollow Wicker Basket. But that limits his ability to make use of his mutated body. 1 set of arms and 1 mouth are going to be busy with the basket. This limits Sukuna to using 1 offensive technique at a time, while Yuta can pull any attack he's able to copy. But there is a weakness. Yuta has a 5-minute time limit on his full connection to Rika. If Sukuna can wait him out, this is going to end badly. Still, Yuta's got one more advantage here. Yuji's here, attacking too with fists that can strike the soul. If that can be combined with Jacob's ladder, they may be able to separate Megami from Sukuna. The 4 fighters take a second, sizing each other up. Sukuna mocks Yuji, asking if he's happy to finally get a role in this battle. And I swear, Sukuna's hatred for Yuji is the funniest thing ever. He really does not like this man at all. All our boy did was stand up straight, and he immediately caught a stray from the King of Curses. Now this is going to be tough for both sides, but jokes aside, I really hope Yuji can remind us that he is the main character at some point in this fight. Shout out to Yuta for killing at least one major villain though. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.